For 40 years, I've walked the line between worlds and am well versed in death. But I want to have faith in humans. Give me something to believe in. Earth below me, sky above me, fire within me. Brought to you by UPRN Network. I'm Trish Moe, and this is The Missing Piece. Good evening, New Orleans, and the rest of the world for that matter. It is Monday, January 23rd, and we are broadcasting live on 105.3 FM New Orleans, as well as United Public Radio Network and Facebook, YouTube. We are now on Roku, not live, just on the recorded versions. You can catch us there as well, and all of your favorite podcasts. So I do want to thank Carnation for sponsoring my show, an hour of my show, as well as the network. I'm forever grateful for that. And thank you to all of my listeners for joining me as well. I didn't completely get an intro, for those of you that laugh at me every time I'm scatterbrained. It's because I come straight from work to my show, and Monday's literally the only day that I do that. So it's chaos, I tell you. But today I'm super excited, and I was nervous about I was just telling them before we came on about having someone from my own area for a change, because it's actually only the second group from the Midwest, from Kansas, the land of Oz, that I am going to have the pleasure of chatting with and connecting with, which is exciting because I love meeting other weirdos in my own area. But usually I have people from other parts of the world or other parts of the country, so that's exciting. And let me make sure I put this. I'm gonna put the link here soon in the comments, and feel free, since they are from my neck of the woods, to ask them to join in the chat room. A lot of people say it is somewhat easier on YouTube. You can join there at The Missing Piece with Trish Moe, or on Facebook. But Facebook requires you, if you want us to be able to see your name instead of just Facebook user, you do have to grant StreamYard or allow StreamYard to access that. So without further ado, this group is very exciting. As you all know, I am intuitively led to all of my guests in a very unique way. And I was drawn to them because they use a lot of scientific approaches to their investigations, which is something I always stand behind, and the professionalism, and I love that. So I am going to be speaking with Flint Hills Paranormal. And in case, for those of you in other parts of the world or the country who don't know what the Flint Hills are, well, they can probably explain that better. I did used to live kind of out towards that way, outside of Manhattan, which is still kind of considered the Flint Hills. But it's referencing the type of hills and the type of stone. It's a flint stone. See, that's funny. I'm already making jokes. So they were founded in October of 2016 by co-founders Dr. Clarke and Brandy Nance. I hope I'm pronouncing her name wrong. Linda had been involved with paranormal investigations for around 30 years, and Brandy had been involved with investigating the paranormal for several years as well. They had been members of a paranormal team in Topeka, Kansas for several years, and they decided to start their own group in their home area of the Flint Hills region. And that's around Emporia, Kansas. They're a very close, fun, and diverse team consisting of 9 members. That's a big group. That would be cool though, because then you have more people to spread out and do investigations. Each has a variety of talents. Um, the majority are sensitives and empaths, but they're also this is crazy. It's very unique actually. They are blessed to have 3 individuals who are exceptional physical mediums, um, who have been visited by spirits since they were children, um, and that it's a great asset to their clients. One of the mediums also brings her Native American background in. So it is my pleasure and such an honor for them to be here to introduce the Flint Hills Paranormal team. And I will bring. I've got to figure out our screen. Uh, nope, nope. That was yeah. I got to remove it. Okay. Welcome you all. Sorry, I'm such an awkward host. I forgot.
Hi.
So I don't know if you want to go around and introduce yourselves individually because we don't know. Um, well, we can see Vanessa. I guess you can start there. Uh, up in
Hi,
the top right.
I'm Vanessa. What should I say about myself? How long I've been with the team, maybe, and
Yeah, how long have you been with the team? How did you start in the paranormal?
okay, so I've been with the team for a year now, just a little over a year, and I've learned the most of my whole life being with this team. So I kind of grew up seeing spirit. I am a physical or psychic medium, I would say. But yeah, I've been visited since I was a kid. At the time, I didn't really know what was going on. I just knew that I was really scared. And so I kind of just went through life like that. And you say the coincidences aren't a thing, but I just happened to fall upon this team and I sent them a message and they were happy to have me, I hope. And yeah, I'm just really glad to be a part of this team. It's a lot of fun and I learn a lot from every one of them.
Now, are you from Kansas?
No, I'm actually from Fort Worth, Texas, but I've been in
Oh,
Kansas the last 6 years.
okay. Welcome. I'm going down to Terry and Wally.
Hi. I'm Terry.
I'm Wally.
Don't get us confused.
Yeah.
And are you
I'm
two
one of the
from
guests.
Kansas as
Yeah.
well?
I'm one of the other mediums.
Yeah.
Yes, originally we lived in Roswell, New Mexico for 10 years. I lived in Texas for a while.
Well, it's
I have
kind of
Mescalero, Apache.
it's a little hard to hear you. Are you I don't know if you all
Oh, wait. Is this closer? Yeah. Is that better?
that is better. Thank you.
Okay.
I didn't hear where
So,
you're from. Sorry.
oh, yeah, we're both originally from Kansas. I was adopted, and we lived in Roswell, New Mexico for about 10 years. I lived in Texas on and off for
Oh, that's
2 years.
cool. I was born outside of Roswell.
I'm yeah, I'm a Mescalero Apache heritage, and I have had this gift of being a medium since I was a child as well. And fortunately, it was nurtured when I was young, so I was able to grow with it and develop it, and not be afraid. Although there have been some scary moments.
And I'm Wally. I have grown up in Kansas. Of course, we went to Roswell for 10 years. But in
Oh wow.
moving back and being with this team has really allowed me to experience some things that I didn't know I was able to carry over the years has always helped me develop some insights into experiencing in a place or keeping around some certain people, and uh, so it's still just an ongoing learning experience for me. It's really wonderful to work with everybody that's on the team,
And we're married.
and we are.
Okay. Well, welcome. It's very nice to have you here as well.
I'm Kathy. I'm from Emporia here. Um, I've been with the team for, I think we decided about 5 years. Um, I came to the team with really no skills. I've learned an awful lot being with the team. And now I am trying to develop some empathic skills. I have had several instances where I have definitely felt presences and felt emotions, mostly emotions and sadness and so I'm learning how to work with that and how to not let it take me over. And I'm anxious to keep learning about it and continue. Oh, is it my turn? Okay. I thought
You're
all right,
fine.
we're not married here.
Unlike Terry Wally, no, we're not married.
No sister wives here.
I don't assume, I don't ever assume.
I have grown up in this area around Emporia, Chase County. So I know, been in this area most of my life and just never really flew away. I've been interested in the paranormal probably my whole life. Um, I'm pretty sure that I was starting to have some connections when I was younger, but I think like most people, you put those off and dismiss them pretty easily. Like, oh, it's not real because everyone tells you it's not real. So, but it's never left me. And so I found, not by accident, I'm sure, I found the Flint Hills Paranormal on Facebook somehow. I wasn't even looking for it. And I happened to message them and said, hey, if you ever want someone else on your team, holler at me. And they did. And so that was about 6 years ago. And you invited me. yeah, then I invited Kathy. So I'm responsible for her. But I actually, came in thinking I had no specific talents or anything to help the team besides gather evidence. But as I have been with the team, I've been able to open myself up more, and I'm beginning to sense more, hear more, see more, and trust my instincts more. So,
That's a hard one. That's
Yeah.
probably the hardest thing to
it
do
is because you second guess yourself and you think, oh, I'm being silly,
all the time.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm Brandy, and I'm partially responsible for everyone here as one of the co-founders. Our other co-founder, Linda Clarke, is ill tonight, so she.
I like how she says partially.
Yeah.
Like just in case you all. No, I'm kidding.
I'm taking full blame.
Not taking full blame, no. I've had experiences with paranormal since I was a child, and my best friend in elementary school had passed away, and I saw her after she had passed away on a front porch, and so that was sort of my first experience with the paranormal. And ever since then, I've had experiences throughout my life. I've seen spirits. I've had them come to me recently in my dreams, which I'm not too pleased about, but or one will be like in my face in bed. So yeah, not too thrilled about that. But yeah, so I've had experiences, and it's always a journey. So I'm very honored to be a part of this team and how we've grown, and we're excited to be here tonight. So thank you for having us.
Of course, and thanks again for coming. I have so many questions. So, do you all just primarily stay in Kansas and in the Midwest, or do you travel to other states as well or other locations?
Primarily Kansas. With us being only 9 of us, it's kind of hard for us to get out of state. So we've been all the way to the Nebraska border. So.
And nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding, Nebraska. I love y'all.
We love you, Nebraska.
So, some of you. No, I'm just
primarily Kansas, and there's plenty here. So we stay really busy.
I don't know. So I saw something about, a strip of the Midwest that literally goes, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, all the way down. And it says only maybe 1% of the population lives in that strip, right? And it said, these things said, why do people think that is? So I don't know if you're from another state or even from another country that's pretty populated and you come to the Midwest, any of these states, they're very big states, but and there's a lot of history in all of them.
Very much
but
so.
there's not, like, to go anywhere it's 40 miles at least. And you don't see, in a lot of these small towns, I talked about that once on my show before, you don't see a lot of people, it's it's kind of sparse, especially out west, where you all are, because farmers and such have a lot of land, and there's not a lot out. There's the world's largest, is it the groundhog, prairie dog, something.
Well, it's mine.
There's always, yeah, there's but
out of that.
But I think another thing that really interested me in your group. So aside from, and I'll let them tell how they do these things as well. Aside from paranormal investigations, they're also diving into the cryptozoology parts, and as everyone knows, that's a very big. I am passionate about all of those things intertwining, not just because I'm from New Mexico and grew up on top of a mountain, but because I think you absolutely have to consider all of those things when, not everything is a spirit or a human ghost or however people want to classify them. And so I think that's important. So not only do they do that, they also do training. Is that correct? Paranormal training.
Yeah.
And what does that involve?
Our paranormal, we usually do once a year a paranormal 101 training. And this is for the public to get familiar with what we do, who we are, what equipment we use. And in recent years, we've started taking people on investigations that night after our training so that they get to experience what we do for themselves. And occasionally we run into someone who gets to be on our team. So that's how we got Terry. She came to one of our trainings, and the rest is history. So yeah, we do that that's a free thing. It's just gets our name out there and really gets the public familiar with us.
And see, you all have been around longer. A lot of, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but a lot of teams in any type of cryptid or UFO or paranormal investigators have there's been so many that have formed over the last few years, since the shutdown. And I think you all have been around, have a pretty solid foundation as far as since you've been around for quite a while. Like our network, United Public Radio, has been around for 20 years, over 20 years, I think. So a lot of the things I've learned so much, but I also learned from groups like yours, the different methods you use and such. And I'm not familiar with any. I don't use tools. There's nothing. I don't have anything against. I just don't know how. Like, I just never have. So what type of instruments do you all use when investigating?
Pick that up.
You want to go?
We have a variety of different things that we use. We use K2 meters. We use our cameras. We use SLS cameras. We have
What's a okay? You have to explain, especially even to people like me, what that is.
a
Some people don't
K2
know what a
meter
K2.
is one that measures the electromagnetic tension in the air. And lots of times, a lot of people believe that that is an indication that a spirit is near.
They're the ones that have the pretty lights that go up
Yeah.
and down, up and down.
Yeah.
Like green, red.
Yeah. The SLS camera, I don't know exactly what that stands for, but it's the camera that you can see like the body. It looks like a stick drawing, and you can see the spirit actually see it on the camera. And you can tell, you can run it on a real person, and it'll look much the same way. So you know there's something there when you catch it. That's very interesting to see.
What's scary about that, though, and I've seen this a couple times, is when it morphs into something that does not look like a human.
Yes.
That's when we're like, okay.
Sometimes they'll get kind of spidery or
Yeah. Or start crawling up the wall.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
That's
Just regular cameras. Our phones. We use our phones a lot.
Yeah, just
They take really good pictures, and then we can look at them right away to see. And one of our rules is we take 3 pictures in a row. That way, if there's something in one of the pictures but not the other 2, then maybe we've got something. If it's in all 3, then maybe it was there all along.
Or you can see things manifest, like from the first one to the second to the third. Also,
I do that a lot, especially since iPhone. I'm a photographer too, and iPhone almost has a better camera than my Nikon, and they have the live feature, and so many people forget to play that. When they're flipping through their pictures when they get home, and they're like, "Oh, there's nothing there." Well, live shot only shows you the best out of like a little clip. I don't know, like 10 different still shots.
It's very, very useful.
yeah, for sure.
Great.
Another instrument we'll use is a recorder, a simple recorder, and we can record when we're doing an investigation. We usually do record almost every minute that we're there, and a lot of times you can hear things. The recorder records things that you can't hear with your physical ear, and so you can go back later and listen to it and hear it. Well, sometimes very clearly, sometimes not as clearly, but it's very interesting and very useful to use that. We try to mark them, like, we've moved into the living room of wherever, we try to mark it so we can kind of go back and check where we're at. If one of us coughs or scuffs the floor or something, we usually mark that as well, so we know that was something physical that happened and it wasn't a paranormal.
Or whisper.
Or a
whisper. That was someone whispering, not a ghost.
Yeah. So we try to be very careful about that. What are some of the other things we use?
Dowsing rods sometimes are very useful.
The dowsing rods are very useful. Are you familiar with those?
Mm-hmm. Well, the reason I'm familiar with those is that goes way back, not just with paranormal areas of study, but obviously with farmers and ranchers and such to finding water, correct?
I remember my granddad using them for that.
Yeah. We ask them the spirits questions, and we have them cross if the answer is yes, push them apart if the answer is no. And we can get quite a bit of information that way. Sometimes they don't like to use the electronics. Sometimes they prefer to answer through the rods, and vice versa. There's times we may put out all of our fancy, pretty equipment and nothing goes off, but we get answers through the rods and through our, mediums. And you just never know. And then the old flashlight method works too.
Oh, yes.
We've got a lot with the flashlights sometimes. Just loosening a flashlight, loosen the top so it barely will turn on, and then have, it will speak to you, turn it on and off, answering questions. So
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that.
Like a bar.
Lights are a way that spirits communicate with me quite often, actually. Um, all the time, especially in Topeka. If I, you know, if I'm walking somewhere at night, if I pull up to a gas station, if I even my little I have little walkway like solar lights, um, they'll start flashing, and I always know that somebody's about to die, and then I see it. Um, and that happens all the time. But I think with a lot of people I know, I don't know if it's the same for you all, um, but it kind of depends, on the person. They communicate with me with whatever means they have available. It could be through my
Mhm.
car
Right.
radio, for that matter. It could be on a billboard. It could be, I don't know, they'll direct my attention to whatever it is they're trying to get across. So um
signs. Pay
yeah.
attention to the signs
Yeah.
Mhm.
everywhere.
And I don't think a lot of people, I think a lot of people discount those things, because they're only looking for that sign on a specific piece of equipment, like,
Right.
and so
Or they
a lot of
dismiss it,
things are missed.
thinking that's just a coincidence because I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Pay attention to the signs.
We also use some very, very low tech things like little kitty toys that light when they move. The motion makes them light up, and we'll ask spirits to maybe push one of those balls to see if they can make the lights light up. That has worked many times as well.
Especially with children, with
Yeah.
child
Yeah.
spirits. They like to play with the ball.
Um, do you work with a lot of like fairies and elementals?
I have not personally, but I think Terry, have you got some elemental experience with Vanessa?
A little bit. Well, we had one here last year that was.
Yeah.
Remember a lot about it. But it was, fill me in, Brandy. I don't. I'm not recalling the situation.
Yeah, we had a private case not too long ago. About a year ago, we started working with this case, and this individual was having trouble in their house, and their dog was being harassed, for lack of a better word, by whatever was there. And then we went out there, tried to cleanse and sage, and we ended up determining that it was an elemental spirit. So we did a very extensive cleansing there. We put crystals at our four corners of the property, put crystals under the house. Um, so yeah, we've had some work there, and I believe that was our first experience with an elemental. And we did go out fairly recently there as well, and I think it's just a maintenance type situation. So
Um, have you found that the living, I know in my own house, if I know when I talk about this, people look at me like I'm absolutely insane, but this goes back in many different cultures. My background is Irish and Native and African. Um, I know I'm like a redheaded white girl, but I'm the only one in my family that everybody else has pitch black hair and darker skin. But um, the the I thought that all of those things were normal because that's what I grew up with, play with in the forest. Um, and so that's what I was going to ask. If when you said you bring like cat toys and stuff, I remember when I was little, I used to play with like the forest spirits, a lot of them with bubbles and stuff. They would move the bubbles. They would do things like that. They interacted with me a lot. But what I found in my own house as an adult, if I upset one of my protective, I'm also pagan, so um, but there's little like brownies, that's in well, that's in many cultures, but like in Irish cultures, if you upset them, then they start doing things, not necessarily to harm you, but they'll like move things that they know are important to me or that I'm looking for. They will maybe mess with my pets, bother my dogs and stuff. And so I found that they like toys sometimes a lot. The little tricksters, they consider that kind of an offering, just like a child would, I guess. I don't know if you all have found that that to be true in places. I know my listeners are like, "What is this girl on? Like, what kind of?"
No, I know what you mean because I've always been interested in the Fae as well since I was a child. Um, and I've recently been doing some research and some reading about it. And one thing is people think that the Fae are all nice and cute and, oh, let's, contact them. And that's not necessarily true at all. They can be very just not nice.
They can be.
Yeah, yeah.
They can be very helpful or very deadly, I guess, depending,
Yeah,
especially in the forest.
really got to be careful. But yes, they do like to play tricks
Well, that one we were had dealt.
Go ahead, Terry.
I was just going to say that one we dealt with, was pretty nasty, and he was from the forest. Was very revengeful. Somewhere he had been insulted, and that's why we left the offering to make amends for however he had been insulted. So yeah, very nasty.
Yeah, leaving little gifts for them. Have you ever had them leave gifts for you, Trish? I mean, sometimes it can just be little things from nature that you find.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had, gosh, tons of things leave gifts for me. Not only I also communicate with animals. Animals will leave gifts for me. I, a lot of the Fae. And some of them, it's so confusing to me the way, but people say a lot of times that mediums talk in rhyme and don't make sense either. So I kind of get it, but like for instance, one time I was at a cemetery with a friend during a full moon, just honoring spirits and ancestors, and I had I think I only had 2 apples. I don't know why I only brought 2 apples, like, that maybe that's all I had or remembered or, um, because I always try to bring something, and so for those of you who don't know, like, an offering, they don't want just something that's like a half-eaten apple. That's kind of an insult to them. Like, you don't wanna just go throw them scraps or, like, I mean, that's still something, but but it's kind of not. So I didn't have enough, and there were these trees guarding um, this cemetery, and I was like, those are some, beautiful. I was like, those are kind of the elder spirits for this cemetery, the guardians of this cemetery, and they're right at the entrance, and um I cut one of them so they could all share because there were like 3 on each side, so and but then there were 2 further down on both ends, 2 other trees. And here I think I'm doing something good and putting one by each tree. And I am not even kidding you, for like 3 weeks after I went there, I kept hearing, why'd you leave 2 out? Like, why didn't you bring something for the other 2? Why why did you give us, they kept saying, like, give us all something or none of us something. And I was like, what? I mean, they literally, uh, every dream I had, and I was like, okay, maybe this is just my mind and I keep thinking about, no, No, I would forget about it for a few weeks, and then it would come back. Why'd you leave the 2 out? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this is like sibling. I didn't mean to, it wasn't even intentional, but that's how it kind of it's funny how um and they'll start telling people around me too. They're like, mm-mm, she shouldn't have done that. Good Lord. So
You need to carry a bag of apples in your car
So
now. So
I
you
had
have
a mentor. Yeah.
you,
I had
you
a
had a
mentor,
mentor?
and she passed away. Mentor, and after she passed away, I started receiving gifts of dimes, random dimes, just falling out of the air, showing up somewhere. And I finally realized, I finally got the message from her that indicates from her change.
Yeah.
Whenever I see a dime, I'm supposed to evaluate what's going on and make a change. Just an interesting tidbit.
I think I get coins a lot of places, and coins aren't always a good sign, in my experience anyways. They are sometimes, but not always.
Yeah.
There was a weird glitch there. I don't know if you all saw that. So what would you all say? What are some of the locations you've been to in Kansas?
Oh gosh, we've been to so many. Of course, private homes. We've been to many of those. There is help me out, guys.
How does that work? Do people just contact you when they feel that their house is
Yeah, and
um
they usually just contact us via Facebook or email us or via a contact form on our website and just say, hey, I'm having this problem. And then we go out there, and all of our services again are free, so we don't charge our clients. They don't have that barrier. So we do a lot of those types of things. We've done, yeah, we did in Cottonwood Falls, Kansas. We did the old grade school, and we've done a lot of buildings in downtown Emporia, Kansas. So we've been everywhere. We've been to the Sally House up in Atchison. So that's a fun place.
Oh, the Sally House.
Yes, the Sally House. We had a very helpful spirit there. One of our team members who couldn't make it on the call tonight, Annette, and I were in one of the bedrooms of Sally House hanging up some blackout curtains because it was still daylight, and we needed several tacks to do that. We didn't have them, so we left the room. We came back, and that exact number of tacks was laying out for us.
Didn't you say they were all in a row?
Yeah, they were all like lined up. So very helpful spirit. That was a fun one. So we've done all kinds of things. We're very blessed on this team.
We do fundraisers. In fact, when we went to the elementary school in Chase County, it's one that it's been closed down, but they were trying to raise funds to save it. And so tickets were sold and the money was given to the foundation for the school. And we've done that for the,
we've done.
Did we do it for the history Plum Place? We did for a women's center here.
And then the history center here, and we did something at the local theater, the Granada. So we're big on our community. We want to help our community. So we host the fundraisers. We raise money for them, and the public in exchange gets a great paranormal investigation and things like that. So,
and sometimes we get clients that way too. They'll come to us after and say, "Hey, we've got this problem."
Yeah.
And,
we've been in parades. So parade.
Yeah.
We were in a parade last year, the St. Patrick's Day parade. So we're not afraid to jump in.
Almost always, our events are always sold out.
Yeah.
Too. So
we haven't had one fundraiser that we didn't sell out. So it's a very popular thing. We've had people come as far away as Oklahoma to come see us.
Yeah, didn't some people from Oklahoma come up a few times?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
the
drove
same
all the way
people.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a fan club.
We have groupies.
Oh, maybe you all could help me with an Oklahoma case. This has been something I kind of put aside for a long time. So it was during the shutdown. Yeah, it would have been, so it would have been 2020, right? 20, that was when
Yeah.
and I had a dream about a little blonde girl and another one with darker hair. They were all around um I don't know, looked maybe between 7 and 9 years old. Um and and so another thing, here's if they really are trying to contact me, they will do things. I have pictures of this and I take screenshots of random or pictures of random things that I'm just, led to take pictures like a so I was staying there, brushing my teeth, fixing my hair, and I looked at this bottle of hair detangler and it had this little girl on it that said dream. And I'm like, oh, she looks a lot like the girl in my dream. but but this was back when so I was as far as missing children's cases and cold cases and stuff, I was still pretty scared of that a few years ago. Um because I had like hundreds of I didn't know how to create boundaries. And I was literally like what's her name? Patricia Arquette from from that show. I've only seen the first part because my mom's like, "Oh, that's like that lady on the," and where she has all the people standing around her bed, and yeah, that was me initially. So, I didn't want to listen to any of them, and um, again, it's like most people, initially with paranoia, and it's not that I've communicated with spirits all my life. It's just the number. It was like they all came at once during the shutdown, and that was really overwhelming. And so I bought a tea set of all things. I collect a lot of antiques and stuff. But during the shutdown, it was from a shop in Topeka, and I came downtown. It was in the Noto area, and there wasn't a soul parked on the street. This store owner, um, they weren't open or anything. She had just posted it on Marketplace. She said, you can meet me. This was later in during the shutdown. It was like May, right. I don't know. I think we started opening things up in June. And so I walk in her store and go straight to it was kind of an antique uh thrift type store. And I walked straight to this it was it's like a magazine comic book that said the things I learned at camp from 1970 something, 76, I believe. And I'm like, that's weird because when I woke up, I had drawn a map that I had no idea what it meant. And so I'm like, huh. And then I come outside and I see this truck. It was like there's no other vehicles parked on the street in all of Noto, just mine, because nobody was down there. And I see this truck that um, had some sticker or something and like Scott something on the back, and then it was like a 70 something Ford or whatever. And I'm like, that's parked right next to me. Like, that's odd. And I go home and I was working one night and my TV comes on all of a sudden out of nowhere. That happens a lot. And this documentary about the Fort Scott Girl Scout murders comes on. And those girls were the ones in my dream. And I'm like, wait a minute, I drew a map of their cabins and this route they took. And so for the longest time, I got so many messages about that specific. And I was like, I wonder why. See, that's why I don't interview a lot of local people, because a lot of times I'm contacted about something that's like halfway across the country or world or and that's pretty old because I did a lot with cold cases and such. But for so long. I got messages about that one, and then I ended up going to Oklahoma City, which is where I got my hypnotherapy certification, to the Skirvin Hotel, which is one of the most haunted hotels, or supposed to be, you know, in this area. And but that wasn't what was scary about it. I had a dream months before about a guy being about a bunch of UFOs being in the area, and a man being taken off of what looked like a rooftop, like a parking garage, by this giant extraterrestrial. And I was like, that's I don't have to worry about that. Like, that's not going to happen, because usually my dreams all come true, sometime in the future. And I was like, I'm not going to be in a situation where I see buildings like that, so I don't even have to worry about it. No, never say never, because I hear this screaming, and I look out the window. I was like, not to, and the Irvin is the Matrix. I'm in the middle. My room's all the way at the end of this ridiculously long white hall, and way down in the middle there's a table with a red phone on it. And I was like, this can't happen this way. And I was by myself in Oklahoma, so yes, that's the Oklahoma's got a lot of. And coming back through, I kept getting, hearing about a buried treasure, and I had no idea what that was until, again, later, some show about Jesse James, buried treasure, whatever, came on about those mountains too. I don't know if you all have been down there, like southern Kansas.
No, not yet.
What do they call those mountains? There's an entire.
With southern Kansas and northern Oklahoma and Arkansas and Missouri.
Ozarks. Well, Ozarks
Is it Tahlequah?
I don't think so. It's like, it might just be the Oklahoma mountain range, like right there. But I mean, it crosses into Kansas.
I know there's an area that has like the four states in it, and it's mountainous and lots of trees. Is that the area you're talking about?
Yeah, it was, and it was beautiful. I mean, there's a lot there as well.
Yeah, there is.
There's yeah, I think there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings down around in that area too. Sure. And in Folk, Arkansas, they always have the Bigfoot festival, folk festival there every year, which I'm going to go to someday. And yeah, and there's a lot of people who believe that Bigfoot is kind of an extraterrestrial being, that there's a link between, the extraterrestrials and UFOs and Bigfoot. That's why they disappear. Can't find them later.
Or crossing dimensions. Some people believe they're interdimensional as well.
Interdimensional, yeah. I believe, as far as Bigfoot and many of the cryptids and interdimensionals and extraterrestrials go, I believe that this goes back in pagan beliefs as well. That I guess, to explain to people how that would work, it's not some like Harry Potter invisibility cloak, but it kind of is, and scientists think that this is some type of futuristic technology that they use, and it's not, because this goes back to the beginning of time, and I believe that that's literally well, it's kind of like with people. If you believe you are invisible, you'll become invisible to people. Not literally, like you're still there, but because of your intention behind that, your thought, the energy you put into that, people aren't going to see you. You know what I mean? And I think they have such an advanced form of being able to control their frequency and their vibration that it allows them to sort of become invisible, you know.
I know up in Alaska that they really believe that the big, they call it Nanatuck. I can't think of what they call it up there, but that it kind of is a spirit of the trees. So it's kind of like it can go, that's why it disappears into the trees, and it can just kind of become part of the tree. So similar to what you're saying.
Absolutely. It's the same. I grew up in the Gila wilderness in New Mexico, and up there, you know, you have the forest spirits as well, and people. I see, especially a lot of Bigfoot groups and such go out, or people in general, and say that it was the trees doing something, or the trees threw a branch at them, or did this or did that. And a lot of times, and there's certain people that can see it, many times I'm so used to, it's not that I see them, I recognize different frequencies, different auras, different, I don't know if you all have a better way of explaining that, but so I see it in that way. And I guess a lot of them, I guess it's kind of the same concept as a shifter. You know, a lot of those aren't actually trees, they're just portraying a tree, just as they would portray an animal or a person or whatever.
There's actually been some sightings in Kansas. You know, Bigfoot sightings, reports of sightings. In fact, our website, I know Linda, Dr. Clarke, has a part that's called Cryptids and Other
Strange
Creatures. And in there are a lot of different cryptids and things like that people talk about, think they see. I actually was going through it today. It's very interesting. But there have been Bigfoot sightings. In fact, out on your guys' property she's actually reported some Bigfoot calls, and you might want to talk more about that.
Yeah, it was, I don't remember what time of the year it was, but Linda had taken a recorder outside cause she heard something strange. And yeah, she got what sounded like a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it. So, and then the one time, I think it maybe was around the time of a big flood, like down south. So part of the theory there is that they were driven north because of the flood, and maybe that's why they ended up here. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
I think she said that in one of her articles about Bigfoot, that when she was driving down the gravel road, that she had like a bunch of gravel thrown at her car around the time
that was that same exact
activity
time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yes, we actually. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go.
No, I was just going to say I went with.
I was just going to ask. And I mean, it actually. I think there's like a delay in that. It's fine. It's fine. I was going to say the same thing with Black Panthers. You know, and people often assume that Black Panthers are extraterrestrial or a type of walker or shifter or whatever, because their sightings have been more and more, have increased over the years in Kansas. But from a scientific or nature perspective, you know, they say the same thing, that they've gradually migrated from. They don't think it's a Black Panther at all. They think it's a jaguar, right? You just, it's so, you know, you can't see its spots because it's so dark. And that it's migrated from Mexico or from more southern areas over the years.
And some
But
maybe, that people have let loose, maybe that they couldn't take care of.
I don't know. They're I have a lot of spirit animals, but there was one. I used to work at a casino here, and I worked the grave shift, so every night I came home, um around 4 or 5 in the morning, it would cross the road. Same place, around the same place. When I was I would get close to my house to the dirt road, and it would cross every single day in front of my vehicle on purpose, like intentionally letting me know it was there, you know. And my parents, nobody believed me, of course. Everybody said I was crazy. And my parents caught it on their cameras quite a few times. I'm like, see, there's it's not so. I'm like, I didn't say it was a unicorn or something crazy. Like it was an actual.
I think Linda got a report that she's wanting to go up around the Kansas City area to investigate a report of
Black cat.
big black cats. It seems like in Kansas, it's mostly in the eastern and the southeast Kansas, the most. But up around Kansas City, there's been some too.
I think this year, well, not this year. Now we're in 2023. Last year, I should say 2000. Did I say 22? I don't even know. See, I'm going to be saying that till March, but last year, 2022, Kansas had more. It was like it went in waves. Reports of UFOs and different sightings of odd light phenomena and such, and it was all in the north, primarily in the northeastern corner of Kansas and kind of around Independence area, near Kansas City. And it was I'm pretty sure it broke a record of the number of reports. And people were pretty consistent, on what they reported too. So, but out west, for those of you that's what we call, the other side of Kansas, because it seems so far out west. Did you all live there and grow up with the whole Superman stigma? Like
We
some
grew up with the Wizard
supernatural
of Oz.
being.
Yeah.
We had Dorothy. We had Dorothy and Toto stigma.
Yes, I get that.
Yeah.
Everywhere anybody who has me on, interviews me, whatever, they're like, or if I go to another state, you're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy.
I know, it's so annoying.
I'm like, that's original. Where'd you come up with that?
Come up with something else. Yeah.
But I'm surprised you don't get the Superman one, because that, to me, if you go back and watch those original, I'm an 80s baby, it kind of makes sense, knowing the power of asteroids, what they have, how they affect humans, things like that. That there's nothing in the middle of western Kansas, there could be tons of asteroids and all kinds of stuff that crash there, and nobody would know it for a while because there's nothing out there. But
it's pretty sparse out there. Lots of crops.
Yeah. Lots of what? I'm sorry.
Crops.
Oh, I thought you said crows. I was like, oh no.
Well, I mean, there's probably crows too, but it's like wheat and mainly wheat, probably.
No. See, I have nightmares about like children of the corn and these things. But speaking of which, corn. This is something I didn't know, and I have a new appreciation for. Right, I was interviewed, or I will be interviewed this week, but he was on my show a few weeks ago, Jesse Peak. He's a MUFON investigator, from the mutual UFO network, and he's from Pennsylvania, but he was telling me corn, something about the silk on the corn and the moisture, I don't, whatever it does. Um, when I'm ever at my parents' house and they live in a this probably seems weird to people in other parts of the world, but like one of those Morton building type houses. So it's got the aluminum, is it aluminum? Steel? I don't know, something siding.
Yeah,
So
aluminum.
We call them barn houses around here.
yes.
It's like part of it for your big old trucks, and then the other's finished for your house.
Yes. They don't have their whole thing is just a house though, because they're, my dad's retired, they don't farm or anything. But they live across from giant, they're surrounded obviously by corn and wheat fields. And he was saying this, there's something in that protects against like radiation and all these other things. And I said, whatever it is, literally, I have been abducted right before their property line, right? It's like, and I said, maybe that's it. Maybe it's the combination of the corn and that type of housing, because there's now after harvest time. Oh no, it's very dangerous. I don't go out in the middle of random fields because I'm triggered by those things. But when the corn's still high, yeah, I think that there's something to that. They're even using it medically now for different like carpal tunnel syndrome and all kinds of stuff.
Didn't know that.
Hair treatments. There's a lot of things, but it does have something to do with. It also has something to do with why different crafts have been said to land specifically in cornfields in places, all across the world. It's like that absorbs part of the radiation or something. I'm not sure, but it's fascinating. I this is a recent, thing you mentioned, and I was like, that's something to study, especially since we have it all around us. It's easier. It's easier for us. But how much have you all? Do you get called on investigations like that? That people see weird things in the sky or in their cornfield or?
Occasionally. I mean, we don't get a lot of land specific things like that. Like we'll get like a cryptid or something like that. So we really don't get a lot of reports like UFOs or anything necessarily in this area. So mainly houses and businesses and things.
I found, well, that all of it goes on way more than anybody realizes. It's just that, nobody talks about it. And the only reason that I've found this is people don't call me specifically or anything like they do you all. But I will be somewhere in a public setting with people who know me and will start talking to me about something like this, like my sister or friends or whatever, and then it's the bystanders that are like, so I've never told anybody this, but out at my land, and then you start hearing them. And so it's interesting to piece all that together.
And that's often the case. I mean, it's just like you said, not talked about. I mean, people are just afraid to talk about it sometimes, even with their houses. And that's another thing, another aspect of our team. Confidentiality is so critical in our line of work. So particularly with private homes and businesses and things, because sometimes people don't want to talk about it. They don't want their neighbors to know or whatever.
Now, the interesting thing is spirits are not discreet. So sometimes that that causes a problem, I don't know if you all have ever had that happen, but and I tell people, anybody who knows me knows I'm not gonna lie, like I'm like, most mediums are obligated if they're a true one. I'm not talking about the the show, the old school dial 1-800 psychic,
Right.
Miss
psychic.
Cleo.
Right. But the authentic ones, I'm like, it's not a matter of us trying to insult anybody or anything. We just have to give people messages as they come across. It can't be filtered through our interpretation, I guess. Well, I mean it is, but not toned down to save or maybe that's just me. I wasn't born with a filter, so
Yeah, and I kind of want Vanessa to speak to that a little bit too. Like, how does it show up for you, and how do you know when to talk to someone about it?
So that's hard. That actually happened the other night at the investigation we went to. Just like a specific sensitive subject where I had somebody with me that had self-harmed or committed suicide, and I didn't really know how to say that without offending her. So I kind of beat around the bush in a little bit. So I'm kind of jealous of you, Trish, that you don't have that filter. I'm not
yeah,
there yet,
no.
but when it comes to me, I kind of learned try to interpret it in a way where it's not going to be offense, but at the same time, take it for what it is.
A lot of people will be mad at you for a while. No, I mean, if you were like me, no, I'm kidding. No, it's
It can go well too.
That's true. It can go well too.
I think do you find I used to have this not fear. I after one of my near death experiences, I had a dream of Egypt and um Anubis, however people pronounce him, and was telling me how it's forbidden to contact the dead, but in a manner that he meant, I guess, for personal reasons. So he was trying to show me from that, like, you can contact spirits for facts, like to find out, I don't know, something they know, knowledge they learned in life, science, history, whatever you want to know, or for something that's already happened, as in crime scenes and things like that. But as far as he was telling me, there was a danger in doing it when it's for personal reasons, like when the living are trying to contact the dead, just because they miss them or whatever. Have you all ever experienced that?
Yeah. One of the first things that Linda told me when I joined the team was never investigate your own house. So I haven't. But I did have, if the spirits want to give you a message, they'll come to you.
Right.
You don't need to seek them out. After my mom passed, she came to me and let me know. In fact, we knew she was going to pass because she had cancer, and I had joined this group. And so, one of our last times together, she said something about coming back. I said, you need to come back and let me know, if you're around or how this works, whatever. And she said, okay. I said, well, we need to have a sign, how am I going to know it's you? And she said, I'll knock 3 times. And she just knocked 3 times on wood. She said, I'll do that. I said, okay. And so then after she'd passed, I was with Linda at the plum place, the plum house, and we were up in the attic and just kind of doing a baseline investigation because we were going to do something later on in that month or the next month. And we were trying to communicate with some spirits there, and I kept hearing a real faint tap, 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 like at the door. And finally I asked Linda, I said, do you hear that? And she said, yeah. And I kept hearing it. And this was like just a month after my mom passed. And I thought, why would she even be here? But we did. I asked her if it was her. We used the rods, and it was her. And of course, I lost it. But I asked Lynn, I said, well, why would she come here? I don't even think she knows about this place. She hasn't lived up here in years. And she's like, well, she just came for you, or, came with you. And that does seem to happen a lot when we have investigations. You call them hitchhikers.
Yeah.
But
they're hitchhike with us.
Yeah, there have been times that we have had spirits come with people to give them messages, and I've actually had the privilege of being able to find that out and give the messages to the people during some of our public investigations, and it's been really powerful. Really powerful.
I think that's have you heard of the spirit phone? I believe the university, don't quote me on this, it's either the University of Texas or one of the major schools, colleges in Texas. I know it was a big thing last year. I don't know if it started then. I think it's been ongoing for a while. They were trying to create an actual phone to contact people who have passed on. What are your thoughts on that?
For me, I'm almost going to categorize that as we do Ouija boards. We don't do those because you don't know what's going to come through, and if you don't properly open, close it, do all that stuff, and even then you don't know what's going to come through. We don't mess with it. So I don't know if that might be the same sort of thing. I don't know.
No, I've wondered that too. I'm like, if you pick up the phone, it's like a old school party line. How do you know who's going to be on the other end?
Right.
It's going to be someone asking about our car extended warranty. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Yeah. We use a lot of different tools, but I don't know.
Can you hear me now?
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you, is somebody going to, I can't picture how that's going to be controlled, I guess.
That's just it. You can't control it. Just like you can't control a Ouija board.
Right. Similar to
it's like
spirit boxes too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hello, will you accept these charges from hell? Well, no.
There's no caller ID.
Not right.
Scam likely. Nope, not answering that one.
What about Stoll? Have you all been there?
You can't get there. Linda had gone long time ago. And she took a picture, and someone had, I can't remember, it's like someone had carved a devil face into the wall or something. The church is no longer there, I believe, and it's just such an urban legend thing that they had to just close it off. You can't even get to the cemetery anymore because so many people are out there. That's another thing. This is people's graves. It's a sacred space, and
we are very respectful of people and the spirits, and we go in with the utmost respect for the people whose home it is and the spirits as well, because they were people just like us at one time. We do not provoke.
No.
We do not try to stir things up. We try to leave it better than how we found it. We try to calm things down, move them on if they want to move on. Sometimes it's up to the homeowners. Is it okay if they stay? Get an understanding. But we don't provoke. It's not like those shows on TV. It's
Oh, that drives me absolutely crazy.
Me too. When they're
Um,
screaming and yelling, I'm like, guys, be quiet. This is
Yeah.
when you need to hear things. You don't scream and roll and run.
You've literally asked the spirit to do something, and then they do it, and they scream and
Yeah.
run off
Did you
down the
hear
hall.
that? Yeah. No, it's like, shh, quiet.
And
well,
that's
I think a lot of those things are distractions too, and I'm like, you're missing the entire point. Like,
Absolutely. And they're probably talking and loud and making noise over some very important evidence that you're not going to get now. So I don't know. I hear a noise and I go to it. I don't run from it. I'm one of those stupid people that, I hear a bang or something in the basement. I'm going with my recorder. Gonna see what it is.
oh my gosh, the fact that you said that, I was just talking to my son before the show because, of course, it was probably like 3 in the morning last night. I got up to go to the restroom because I couldn't sleep, and my phone died, of course. So I didn't know exactly what time it was. Otherwise, I would have noted that. But um, it sounded like an explosion, like literally right outside my house. But tonight, my son went down in our cellar and shut the door, and that same sound, I was like, man, if I was like half asleep, that kind of rattled the house. He just slammed the door. I'm like, that could have been something in the basement.
Mm-hmm. Trying to get your
But it's a
attention.
cellar. It's not a, yeah. There's a lot. Topeka. I have a really hard time living here because of all the terrible things that have been done.
yeah.
Um,
The state hospitals are particular.
oh, and I think that's, recently my daughter broke her leg, and she has gone to a lot of those areas, for physical therapy and stuff. And I even stepping foot on that land, I'm like, man, I just see all the people and all the deaths and Hummer Sports Park. The craziest thing, the first sports tournament I went to there, I see this lady, a living lady. Um, Sometimes I get confused about that too in crowds. I'll be like, I'm, I don't know if they're, somebody will be talking. I'm like, well, that one they might have been a ghost. They show up so vivid to me but this one it was a lady cleaning up blood on the floor. And like one of the kids had gotten a bloody nose. I don't know, um, but it was in a specific area that I guess used to be down to some of the tunnels under the old hospital. And so I didn't know that at the time though, but I paid attention to her doing that in that area. And then later, um, spirits told me that's they used to chain people up down there and do. I'm like, wow. She was literally that's what they showed me that for. Like that was the trail of blood on the actual in that area. So
Yeah, there's some tough places up there. The old site of Menninger's Topeka State Hospital.
yeah.
If you're ever on those grounds, it's overwhelming, the feeling that's there. So
I walked straight to an infant grave, a very fresh one at Menninger's one time. And unfortunately, I guess that's why I kind of steer clear of a lot of things in Kansas, because nobody listens, and it's really sad. It's when I used to work with different authority, KBI, things like that, I didn't work for them, people. Don't get it confused. When I was trying to work with them as far as missing persons and stuff, they just write it off as oh, we get, which I get that also. They say they get so many psychic leads and mediums and things like this, and I'm like, but no, like this is an actual place, like this is but no, nobody listens. So
You would think they would want to and go check it out, if nothing else, just to say, okay, they're not there.
But I mean, I'm not gonna mention what state was kind of in the hot seat for corruption last year, but that'll
Doesn't narrow it down.
I was gonna say that could be any.
it's in the middle. It's in the middle of the United States. So but so I don't know, there's I even had a show where I wanted to get mediums from all over to help with cold cases, because I thought that's really interesting thing, because we often all get different messages about the same the same situation, or the same, it's kind of like a puzzle, you literally like put the pieces together, because everybody gets something different and everybody can contribute. And it's just there's not enough, and I'm sure there's not enough nowadays. There's staffing problems and things like that.
Sure.
They don't have, in Kansas anyways, especially for like missing children, there's not enough staff to support social workers or anything to support that.
No, there's not.
That was one of the big things I got in Atchison, because there's a house right by the old orphan cemetery that literally has Trisha written in the cement. And I'm like, well, that's a sign of some sort, right? Like written in the walls there. But in the basement of Sally House, I got sacrificing the children, and that was part of it. And I'm like, man, there's so much.
It can be a lot.
Do you find I had somebody I put a I don't know why. See, this is, I don't know why I just saw this. This is a long, I don't know if it'll show up. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we see it.
I'm going to read this for the radio. A camera that someone lost in South America was found recently. They are mistaken about the person, parentheses, that they captured on the film that had posed for the photo. It is not a man from a lost civilization. Right away, I could tell something in the story is wrong because the picture resembles Bigfoot, women I have friended. I'm no joke. Check it out. Bigfoot people. I have ghosts also. They are always coming and going. I got ding dong ditched by a knock the other day. Bada bump bump. And I apologize. As I said, I don't know. It just shows up as Facebook user, so I don't know who you are, unless you give StreamYard permission. So, what are your thoughts on the? I don't know. I don't know if I have seen the film they're referring to.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I don't really have a reference there. But
then there's one of a time traveling werewolf. What are your opinions on werewolves?
part of the cryptids.
Yeah, part of the cryptids. Werewolf, dog man. We got skinwalkers. You have wendigos. There's all sorts of different things out there. I'm trying to think. There was someone that cited a werewolf they thought was a werewolf in 2008 in Sedgwick County here in Kansas. Of course, that's just one report. A lot of times people don't report things, or they shrug it off, shake it off. In Jackson County in 2013 and 2015, some sightings of either a dog man or werewolf. And one thing that struck me in that article that Linda wrote is on her cryptids webpage is when this wolf stood up, they could hear the popping and the cracking, kind of like what you see on TV almost, but they said they could hear that, like the joints popping and cracking, and then it went, walked onto, it was bipedal then. So I don't know. I think
There's
there's a lot of things out there that we don't understand.
there's quite a large population of wolf clans, I should say, in the Topeka area that I know of. And it's been, I don't know about other areas in the state, but there's always sightings here. I don't consider, there's other animals, coyotes. I've had many different experiences here with coyotes that aren't actually coyotes, and deer that aren't actually deer. Um, and that seems to be in Kansas. It's like the land of monsters, um, quite quite literally. Um, the Facebook user, I still don't. It happens every time I get up off the couch, popping and cracking. I'm 53. Yes, I get
Me
that.
too.
We gotcha, Facebook user.
And the one above that, and to have one show up on your show, what a treat, am I right? I interviewed Denny Sargent, who wrote Werewolf Magic, Facebook user. You should. He's from the West Coast. He's from um, the Northwest. Um, and they love, making their neighbors wonder what they're doing out naked, running around in the woods. So, but an interesting thing with
Harry and I
werewolves.
one evening.
Oh, you cut out there.
What, Wally?
Okay,
Go ahead, Wally.
okay. Terry and I one evening after dark, we were coming from Abilene back to our farm, and we were going down Old 40, and there's a lot of houses along the way. But this night we saw uh, four-legged, four-legged something
Oh,
that went across the road. It was dark, shadowy looking, but yet had a long tail, kind of long legs, and a lot of fur. And then it was gone. Now, what's odd is when you drive down this section of Old 40, there you just don't see any animals in the yards around those houses. So, of course, your brain wants to logically explain what it is. But, and this is where it comes in for me that I try to logically explain things, but then I have to remind myself to be open and accept the possibilities of something else. And, if I hear a noise at home, then I go, refrigerator? Oh, wait, maybe it wasn't. I see a glimpse of something in the living room. Oh, that was just the light. Well, wait a minute, maybe it wasn't. And so, yeah, I think if people would kind of not try to override with logic a lot of times, because a lot of times when you try to do that, it doesn't come out logical anyway. So, what's really happening? And don't discard it, accept that it's a possibility. But yeah, it was very interesting that night. I saw
Yeah, we're used to people telling us that it's.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
we
Terry.
thought maybe it's a chupacabra.
Yeah. And that's something else that Linda has on her cryptids and other strange creatures page too. She has a section dedicated to chupacabras, which sometimes are animals really with a bad case of mange, and they look really. They don't look like an animal that you would ever think existed, but when they have severe case of mange where the mite gets under the skin and it just makes the skin leathery and the hair falls off, except in some places, they can look quite frightening. But yes, I mean, I totally, that's not to say there's not chupacabras, but sometimes what people think are that.
Yeah.
I agree with.
We're totally different than a dog or a tiger. It moves different. It almost slinks like a cat, but it looks more like a dog. And it's large.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you all are familiar or aware of the more recent declassified military and government files, reports. Um, you can find a lot of those, especially from the CIA on their website, CIA.gov. But they have there's been and this has been since probably I want to say like the 60s. Where experiments were being done, not just by in the U.S. or by the U.S., other countries as well, sort of mixing different animal breeds to create a hybrid animal. Um, and a lot of times those would, they'd be tagged and released to see how long they could live in the wild and such. Um, and that makes sense to me. I'm biologically a chimera, so I'm multiple races of, I don't know, whatever. But um, if you think, Wally, as you were saying, in scientific terms of things like that, and that has been documented since even the Egyptian times. They also experimented with crossbreeding different animals and such because they were trying to find a way to withstand droughts and things like that. That's actually where the longhorn cattle came from, because they wanted to find a more resilient cow to withstand the upcoming drought that they knew was going to happen. Um, Oh, I saw the Longhorns in Abilene during the Longhorn Drive there, so that's what made me think that. But um, so things aren't so far-fetched. Um, Another thing with experiencers, with abductees, um, they will tell you, many of them will say that many times their mind is manipulated to see this being, whether it be an interdimensional, intergalactic, extraterrestrial, whatever you want to call it, projected. However, they see it in their mind, I guess. I don't know how to explain that. Um, like I saw a gargoyle sitting on my dining room table one time, and I didn't realize the significance of that, the symbolism of it, or seeing. I've actually taken pictures of clouds that say, like you can actually see letters or numbers or whatever spelled out. Because they project those things in this hologram graph that we're all in, and so when somebody says they've seen unicorns or like me gargoyles or and that's so have hundreds of others throughout time, so I try not to discount anything either. Like if they're projecting what's in our mind, um then maybe that is what comes out.
Yeah, very well could be.
Never say never.
Oh gosh. Every time that happens, something bad comes up.
Right.
That's funny
You,
because I wrote down a quote here that I read today from Mark Twain. Truth is stranger than fiction,
Mhm.
and that's definitely what I've come across since joining the school.
Me too.
Yep.
do you all think that there is a danger in modern we have on the Parapost network, like they have the global ghost hunt coming up next year. Or no, I still don't know what year I'm in. 2023 now. This year. And things like that, where a bunch of people all around the world would be basically doing investigations at historical landmarks on the same day at the same time. To me, I found a lot of these different places, there's portals that either people have opened or that due to whatever's happened there, were created. So what's your opinion on that?
For me, that'd be a little bit of twofold. I mean, number one, it's dangerous in the fact that a lot of people that are going to maybe do this aren't going to know what they're doing. They're not going to be respectful. They're just wanting the notoriety.
They're looking for the dark stuff, and
Right.
that's what I see.
Right.
A
We
lot
don't
of
ever
people,
seek that out.
they're looking for the dark stuff. That's what they want. We don't really come across the dark stuff. I mean, and we don't seek
we
it out.
definitely don't seek it either.
But a lot of those people might be looking for
Mhm.
some dark stuff, and they, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
because I just think it would be a lot of people that are not educated enough, and you get enough of those people out there at the same time opening portals, or that's an awful lot of power that could be unleashed. I don't know. I'm just a little iffy about that.
To me, it's a little bit of exploitation too
This is true.
of the spirits.
Not being respectful to
Right. I mean,
Absolutely.
what we do is serious.
them. Mhm.
I mean, it's serious. It can be serious. It can be dangerous.
It's not for a show. It's not for,
No.
To get famous or anything like that. It's not for fun even,
Mhm.
We're there to help people and to help these spirits too. And they need someone to help them sometimes. They need someone to hear them.
Cross them over if that's what they want.
Yeah.
We've crossed over a lot of spirits.
Yeah, we have a video on our YouTube of some spirits crossing over into a candle. So
A lot of people have called me like the social worker of spirits because it's not by choice.
I like that. That's a good title.
Not by choice, but I don't see. I'm so glad that there's people like you all to assist in spirits crossing over. I feel like I get called to the more difficult, like darker, again, not by choice,
right.
but and I often thought, I'm like, maybe it is because I have had quite a few near death experiences and such, and so I'm somewhat, I wouldn't say, no, I think there is a more, I think my ability to communicate with some of the more dangerous or demonic or angrier spirits, it's like they see me as kind of part dead. I don't know how to explain that. Does that make sense? Like,
You tempted fate and came back.
right.
So that gives you, I think they probably view that as that gives you a strength. You've been to our side, now you're back. And if you've done that a few times, I mean, every time, I think then your powers would get stronger.
Well, and not only that, being a chimera, if I technically, I used to joke about it before I ever knew that I was that. Um, I would say I've been dead inside for years, just joking back when I was younger, in my early 20s and stuff. But technically, I have, and it took me so long. It's actually going to be in part of the book I'm writing about that, because I didn't realize that I was being haunted by my twin and triplet siblings. I have their body, I have extra organs that belong to them, living, functioning organs that are of my siblings, but not their full bodies. So I didn't realize that. I thought those were attached, those spirits were attachments, but no, it's part of me. Like, it took me so long to get that. But then I was like, oh my gosh, I am dead, and like, part of me is technically. Um, so that was interesting. So I don't know if that has something to do with it, but it's definitely um, like the Fort Scott Girl Scout things like that. Like, it's a lot of very very sometimes very bad entities. So I can't do. People are like, oh, why can't you do it more often? No, I can't lower my vibration to
Right.
be able to do that very often. I probably only do things like that, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a year, maybe.
It's dangerous.
Otherwise, it would probably kill me,
It's
literally. Like, it
dangerous.
takes so much energy. So, but people don't consider that. Even exorcists and stuff. That's um I even performed like self exorcisms on camera unknowingly. So maybe that's part of my like subconscious. Thank goodness, but maybe that's why I have that protection. And who is this? The dog bark. I was trying to say my sinuses are more sensitive like a dog, and a good list of things modern people either lost or don't or aren't equipped with.
And there's a comment somebody put in that a friend sent them a picture of a chupacabra. Yeah, if you want to send that to our Facebook page, Flint Hills Paranormal, or send it to our email, it's flinthillsparanormal@gmail.com. We would love to see it. Take a look at it. We'll get back with you. That one right there. So yeah, please send it to us. And addressing the dog bark comment, I think that what you said there is true. There are a good list of things senses that we aren't in tune to, or we haven't, that we're afraid to develop. Children, animals are more sensitive than we are. They haven't figured out how to filter, or they haven't been taught to filter.
Haven't been told they can't.
Right.
That's not real.
Mm-hmm. So some of us do lose those sensitivities as we get older.
Oops. I try to be very careful with my daughters, so much more. And well, she's very intuitive, but the difference is, I was, and I don't blame my parents for telling me that these things didn't exist, because I understand how they were afraid of them as well. But my daughter, especially, like, when we went to Stoll, because during the day, this was before, I know I'm gonna get a bunch of emails, people are gonna jump on me about this. No, it said open hours, and it had like a listing of daytime hours and all this stuff. I guess that was an old website, but I didn't know that, so I was being respectful. And we actually have ancestors, in Kansas and in different cemeteries. And we went there during the day, and very respectful. She walks over. So this is after I had gone there, I don't know, over 20 years ago when I went to KU. But when the church and stuff was still standing. But this is more recent in the last few years. And she walks over to a fence on the far side of the cemetery, and she said, "Why do I feel like that looks like the stairs going down?" And I was like, "What?" You know, she's young. She doesn't know any of the stories about Stoll. She doesn't know any um you know, nobody's told her anything about the supposed stairway being one of the stairways to hell and
Right.
all of this. And I thought that was interesting because I was like, huh, out of all the experts that have ever been here, you know, so many discounted that and said that this does not exist. But even all the way back to like Egyptian beliefs or pagan beliefs, stairways down or up in the world don't necessarily mean they don't all lead to this hell, you know. So I guess that's another interpretation. But the thing with Stoll, which brought that up, was the legend was about a witch and um um the devil, right? They said the witch and Lucifer um bred a werewolf that ran off in the woods. Or that's a story that was around here. So I don't really but anyways, a sheriff came right like, you know, not long after we were there.
Good.
And we weren't again, this was broad daylight. We weren't doing anything obviously illegal. We thought it was open. You know, and so, but the funny, here's what I said. And he just turned white. And I didn't even know because at that moment and he asked what we were doing there, and I said, "Oh, I came to see if some relatives that have passed." I said they used to be buried here, and he said, "Used to be," and I was like, "Yes, apparently that's so." This was before I knew that the actual grave of the apparent, you know, witch that was buried there had been moved. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is.
Because years before I had gone, it was during another. It might have been during like Ostera or one of the moons. And I was actually looking for Stolen, and this wasn't anywhere near the right place. And Kansas has tons of cemeteries in the middle of nowhere, you know, and so I
Yep.
went to one. I was probably at the correct one at that time, unknowingly, you know, the first years before, and had no idea. And of course, I would never tell anybody that location because I know people are just savages when it comes to um, destroying things and disrespecting them. So,
Yeah. Unfortunately.
but the same thing when I lived in Manhattan. I don't know if you all have ever heard that it used to be called Magic, the town of Magic, before the government destroyed it.
I haven't heard that.
The government held it's the only recorded, the largest paid by the government mass exorcism was held at Fort Riley, Kansas. Share this. I don't know what I'm sharing though. Skinwalkers are scary.
I agree with that.
Have you all ever seen the movie? I couldn't even make it all the way through it. I was just led to. I don't watch TV unless I'm led to something specific. But came out about 6 months ago. The movie Prey. Prey.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Not yet.
I don't think I have.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Whew.
I don't want
That
to
is people, you know, especially around this area in Lawrence and stuff, people always want to contact extraterrestrials and be abducted and all these. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're doing. Like, I mean, yes, some of them are good. I agree. But the only thing I could think of when I saw that movie, all of it was almost all of it was correct and reminded me of when I lived in the mountains and all the times they, this transparent water looking being that looked like some type of predator alien, terrifying, and I have horrific um scars, all kinds of things from them. So for everyone who thinks these are just little cuddly you know forest creatures, I I advise go watch that movie. And
Yeah.
again, I don't know how it ends. I don't know anything about most of it because I probably only watched like the first 15 minutes, but that was more accurate to real life events. Probably for a lot of people actually that I wouldn't so when people are, I always advise, like when you're in the middle of nowhere and you think you're dealing with a spirit or something that even like the fae sometimes uh, that thing I could see being perceived or portrayed as like a walker. I don't even like saying that, but I mean in native beliefs, like you don't say that because then you call them in. So
Could have been an elemental also.
well, in the movie, it's not an elemental. It's just the way this thing
Oh, I haven't
operates.
seen the movie.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking of what you saw, with what you said, like transparent with the water or something.
Mm.
It just
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
made me
yeah.
think elemental.
Elementals can have the same thing, but this thing was very like it was hunting them, very aggressive, very um very advanced as far as like the mind control things that the elementals typically can't or don't do. They might confuse a person or trap them or what, but this was very, very different. I'm sharing your post this show. I don't know what they're, so I assume they're sending it to you all from your website. Is that correct? Facebook
I believe
user?
so.
I don't who are you sent did you already send it? So what would you all say was probably the most intense investigation in Kansas you've ever done?
I think for me, we did a warehouse in Wichita. Um, and this guy was living in part of it, and I just kept having this spirit in my head wanting attention. And then we did our little walkthrough, and then we all went to dinner, and I was just, and everyone was talking about everything other than paranormal, and it just really made me mad. Like I was like, I have to tell you about this spirit, I was just really mad. And it wasn't until I don't halfway through dinner, I finally said something, and I realized it was the spirit like influencing how I was thinking. For me, that was scary because it's not really like my demeanor. Just that spirit got so far into my head. So that for me was probably one of my scariest experiences. But
That was an intense investigation.
Yeah, it was.
Because that was one of my first big ones.
it was.
And I remember feeling like getting rushed by a spirit.
Yeah.
And then remember, Annette and I were we had a camera set up in the attic where no one could go, because he had some experiences or something happening up there. And we were looking at the monitor that was up there, and she's like, well, she's like, it went blank. It's just black. And I said, wait a minute. And we watched, and the entire screen was black. And then pretty soon we saw it, the black shifted, just like it was something that totally went over the whole screen and then disappeared. And she took a picture of us because we both looked at each other.
You had this look on your face.
Did you see that? And then that was pretty crazy. And when we went to dinner and came back, all our equipment was unplugged.
Oh yeah.
And there was nobody in there. So yeah, they didn't want to.
Do you know, like, the what date was it? Like the actual date? Do you recall when everything was unplugged?
Oh, this was pre-pandemic, so probably it's like before COVID, after COVID. It was maybe 2018 or 19, maybe.
But I mean, like, day of the month. Do you all?
Day of the month? No, I don't.
So wouldn't it?
That's important because when you say everything's unplugged, for me, I've been electrocuted, I've been struck by lightning, all these things. If I came home and everything was unplugged, I would know that portal days, like the recent ones that we had, the 20th through the 22nd, there's, in the atmosphere, you'll see a lot more problems with electronics and things like that. But also, we had one of the largest electrical storms in, I don't know if it was just in the US or in the world, during the last few days of last week, which would affect people. Like, if all that energy is coming through and you're trying to contact spirits, you could have a heart attack. You could, like, people, like, I have electromagnetic sensitivity on certain days when certain things, even the sun, the solar flares now can cause things like that. So depending on the day, is why I asked that. Even if the moon's full, that's going to make that energy even more. Like, I'm more likely to have a heart attack during a full moon at a place with these specific electromagnetic frequencies. So if I came back to that, I would think they were protecting me, not trying to stop me from communicating. So
yeah, that's good insight.
So it's good to note the moon phase, what planet.
Sure.
And specific days and times, because all those are like portal days and portal times affect.
I didn't think to bring my little notebook that has my notes in it with me and the dates and everything. So otherwise we could have looked it up.
There's a lot of places that only have activity on portal days too, and people say, well, we went to this site and nothing happened, but it only happens on this day. Well, then at that specific place, you might be dealing with interdimensional or extraterrestrial, if that's the case, because they can only travel during specific days and times, I guess, if that makes sense, or moon phases, things like that. Whereas if you went to a place with like human spirits, then it really wouldn't, those things don't really affect it as much.
That might be why when we go some places where they say they've had issues, we go there and there's really nothing happening that we get. That might be a reason why.
On those, when I look back at places like that I'm like, well, I always had, things happen there. But then I look at the dates and I'm like, okay, because I was led there specifically on that date, so that made a difference. I don't know. There's so much to explore. It's exciting that more people are open to it in this day and age. Where do you all plan to go next? Like, what do you plan to do with your group, I guess, in the future?
We'll probably continue to grow it. We need a couple more members, and so we're pretty tight right now and pretty small. So 9 sounds like a lot, but when I think we did like well over 30 investigations last year. And if you think, I
Wow.
always tell people for every hour of investigation, it's 2 hours of work on our end afterward. So for 3-hour investigation, plan on 6 hours of going through evidence, following up the client. And so we'll continue to grow and continue to be a part of the community. So, but we're pretty community rooted, so we want to stay here for sure.
Hopefully, with our name getting out there, that people that need help or have issues, they will know to contact us, because we see that happening already. Every year, we're getting more and more
people.
private investigations, people hearing about us and wanting us to come help. So I think we've already got quite a few bookings this year already.
Yeah,
so.
we do. We ended 2022 with the waiting list of people
Wow.
we follow up with. So, and we do referrals as well. So if anyone that's listening to this, we're more than happy to find a paranormal team in your area. We've done that multiple times. People from other states will come across us and asking for help, and it's sometimes hard to connect with the local team. So
Maybe that's why I was drawn to you all. Maybe that's what I'm supposed. I know that's what I'm supposed to be doing, but the problem is Topeka. This is a whole different. There's not just there's problems with the living in Topeka.
yeah,
Much less the dead. We have the living dead here, so
you can say Topeka's a tough place sometimes.
man. So aside from, and for me, I still have, I don't know if this happens to you all, but I've also, there's other people like me that I know in my area as well as all over the world that are also used and exploited by other organizations for even like military abductions, things like that, for remote viewing, for all kinds of things against our will. Um, so when people, send me hate mail that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to, there's a lot of other things that goes into having these gifts, I guess, so to speak, that people don't understand. And it can be dangerous. That's another thing. I see people teaching remote viewing and all these other things all over. And even in my hypnotherapy class, they were teaching using a pendulum or basically like a Ouija board as a form of getting direct messages from your higher consciousness, basically. But I'm like, but as to avoid the religious context and things that would come from that, they just said that's what it's used for. But that's dangerous because they're not teaching how you should protect. What else comes from, you're not just going to get your higher consciousness like when you open that up, the same with pendulums. So my fear is having kids, my kids, my little girl seeing something like that on YouTube or TikTok. And then all of a sudden you have these children everywhere opening up portals and vortexes and all kinds of stuff in their own home, which is probably where you all get most of your calls from, and the people don't even know it. They don't know that this is happening.
Right. They don't know what's going on. That's why we exist, to help them sort it out.
I even saw last Christmas. They had this toy that's like everybody thinks Harry Potter and all these things are cute, or it was a toy. It was a witch's cauldron.
The
and it had potion. Yes, and it's ridiculous, like $80 or some nonsense.
Expensive. Yes, I didn't buy one, but man, I looked at it. My inner child wanted one.
Yes, and yes, I find it fascinating. And my daughter wanted one too, and I'm like, I'm not buying you this plastic bowl for $80. You're crazy. But if you get these kids who are gifted with the right intention and things, and they start, doesn't matter what they're brewing up a potion in, it's going to happen. And I think that's something that people need to be educated on. Like, nobody teaches spiritual awareness in school, or
They
that's
don't.
that without a religious context, because it doesn't matter what religion you come from, there is still a spiritual world outside of our own. So I don't know how to solve it, but we need more people like you all to go in and help people in their homes. And obviously, um for listeners that want to contact them, there's nothing, they're not going to judge you, they're not
No.
going to, obviously I've told them stuff that people, half of you all are probably like, you're this my listeners have their popcorn, they're like, we just, you know Trish is absolutely off her rocker. But that's what I'm saying. Like, some of the oddest cases, they're not gonna treat you like you're crazy. So
So
or tell anyone, you can keep it discreet.
Right. We're very confidential. And if there are listeners that joined us late, we don't charge anything for our services at all. I mean, we totally do it to help people and to help the spirits.
Mhm.
Mainly to help the spirits, I guess.
Yeah,
Like, we should say that before the people. We want to help the spirits,
And in doing so, it helps
help
the
people.
living.
right.
Yes. So that's our whole reason for doing this.
I'm the same way. I've never charged for anything like that, and I don't make anything off this radio show. So I wish there were more, outlets like that in the 80s. Believe me, I would have been calling some number like from my grandma's party line to
Oh Lord. We had a party line.
the craziest thing. For those of you who don't know what that is, it was a bunch. So basically, one line per, was it like city block, or like
We
a
were out in
certain
the
number
country,
of,
and there were like 3 different households that had to share this one party line. So if you had
it's
wanted to
so
make
weird.
a phone call, you'd pick it up, and someone else might be on the phone from another house. And
Yeah.
so then you couldn't make a phone call till they were done with theirs.
Oh no.
So you'd either quietly hang it up, or else you'd quietly unscrew the bottom of the thing. So then supposedly they couldn't hear you. I don't know. You could use
It's just, it's essentially the same as mediums.
True.
You have all the spirits in line waiting their turn, to use the waiting for you to hang up with someone else so they can come on. Oh my goodness, it is already 10:20.
Yeah.
Tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find us on Flint Hills Paranormal across the board. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We have a website, flinthillsparanormal.com, or flinthillsparanormal@gmail.com for the email. So that's where you can find us. We would love some new fans, and more than that, I mean, like Cheryl said, we just want to help people, and so reach out to us if you need anything. We're here, and we'll refer if we need to if you're not in our area.
Absolutely. I will also put all of those. I posted all of those links, and I will make sure they come across on YouTube as well. The recording of this will be pushed to all of your major, wherever you get your podcasts. Our major ones are SoundCloud, obviously Podbean. Oh my goodness, I can't even think. They're on all of them. Amazon Music, and I do have those listed on my YouTube channel as well. It was such a pleasure meeting you all. We need to get together. I should
Yeah, for sure.
There's some
You're on
things
the
I
app,
want to
so.
do. Yeah, there's some things I want to do in towards your area more. And like I
Come
said,
on
there's so
down.
many things in Topeka too. So I would love to um, and get to meet you all in person. I like,
Yeah, that would be great.
experiencing other people's energies and getting to talk to them. So um,
That
hope
would be amazing.
when we're not in this supposed blizzard that they say is coming, that I don't believe it.
Oh my
I don't
God, go
believe
buy
it.
your milk and bread.
I know, right?
3 inches. Come on. That's
I came from upstate New York, so it's the other people driving I worry about.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for having us. It's been a real honor.
Thank
And
you very
Yes,
much.
to everyone that listened, thank you.
Yes. Thank you to all my listeners. Have a great week. Have a safe week. Tune in next week. Be sure to go over to Flint Hills Paranormal, like and subscribe to their content and keep up with them, or contact them if you need their help, or even if you want to learn more about the paranormal training, anything that they any of their services. And next week, I kind of have a surprise. I have to finish it though, so I'm not going to tell you all what I'm so random. People will they'll just have to wait around. Tune in next week. Again, thank you to Carnation for sponsoring my my first hour with the radio network, and UPRN as well. So have a good night, everyone. Be safe. Until next time.
Bye.